it's wide open, it'll burn the fire like this.
Oh, if it's wide
Yeah,
open,
if the chimney's wide open, you can close it down for
I know that I'm not. Because I get lazy, I push it over and turn that fan off. That's what they told me.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. This is Bob. I'm on Bob. I'm having New Year's Eve brunch. Greens, cabbage, and fried. And a little cornbread. Water and coffee.
I built a fire.
So, this is a live chat.
I get up in the morning, I take a poker and shake it just a little bit and throw a couple of pieces in there. And then go
Now, what do you got to
come home
play?
and eat and do the same thing. Still did that fire.
Now, I was gonna steal, you're not gonna steal that.
Shit, like I say, what's what makes Christos, of course, you can turn the green wood, it's not cured out. Yeah, wet pine, that kind of thing.
No, she's got good wood. Yeah, she's like,
Any kind of fruit wood is good wood, apple, cherry, peach.
I had to try to take someone to take it and everything, so I'm in the park.
No.
Yeah.
It's good for cooking too.
To me, I like local pine, peach, birch.
Well, I got things to listen to, but let's reach out since we're
Seems like locust put out.
in the home. Locust does put out more heat.
It might be pine. Pine falls off.
Yeah. Pine,
One back.
You come get that tree stuff out on it. You try to come down. One mountain. Right when we got to turn the little bit.
Let's tell a story. No, let's look.
So I got a car most like it. Then we were coming home, we see these two girls. Oh, I'm talking about where the tree is. Man, they should fly.
My dad told me one time, he said, I got a tree that on the burning thing, just standing, but it was low. It looked like a telephone pole, all the wheels fell off of it, all the parts fell off of it. It didn't like to find that it was like, it was hard. That stuff in line. I got to run the chainsaw trying to get it down.
Scattered, ain't it?
Yeah,
Have you ever seen Irma? Where's she at?
I hadn't saw her and shut off. She lives in Knoxville. I hadn't saw her in years.
She did, she live in that trailer.
I don't really know.
They lived in.
I don't know exactly where they live. Her boy Scott, he didn't have.
Please leave your message for 5402938.
It's close to seeing Mark Purdy.
When Johnny's back from California,
Every single
and
one. I'm concerned about my children.
he's just got this fact. I'm out in the woods. I can't get anything.
A lot of people say, what you eat, chicken cake. I've got a brother, he doesn't eat that much rolled fish and rolled chicken. Don't think he'll eat. He's had 2 heart attacks.
My boy just drinks that old pop, you know, he had them kidney stones and they like to kill him. They say that pop causes it.
I always say Mike, I don't know if you can remember him or not. He's skinny, he's a railway. Like I said, he won't eat that. He won't eat hamburgers, steak. It ain't always what you eat. I know you can eat meat, but a lot of it's weird.
Yeah, every bit of it. Every one of them. Every single one of them.
Well, what are you going to do? 4 minutes and 47 seconds. No one's here. having brunch.
And that,
I had a whole bunch of things I was going to play, but that's it. So
She loves being a blessing.
when I was, how old are you when you're in first grade? 7 or 8? I got murdered by a
Ladies and gentlemen.
Nazi Catholic nun.
She needs to make this some guy.
And,
You know what he say? He said, give me that, or do this, or do that, or get yourself a blessing.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a hospital for about 6 months.
He'd say it all the time.
I said, if I want to bless, I'll put the
My
$20.
orbit got broken. My eye got squeezed to the point where the cones in the back are readjusted so I see different frequencies of light.
Yeah, more coffee?
Yes, please. Thank you, darling.
Yes, their payroll.
And
He has it
Does he still work? Yeah.
He said, I worry about it. He can't even come to see me. He
Oh, I
can't
haven't
even
seen
get
him.
time to
I
see
haven't
me.
seen him or Randy in years.
all right.
I guess last time he was up here, I seen him.
Ah, Did you have a nice Christmas?
I did. How about
Yep. Everybody together?
Yeah.
The
The baby's had a ball.
Oh, that's good. It's all about the babies. Yep. My parents were all about preparation. So that was the most fun of Christmas, from Thanksgiving on. And so anyway, I got murdered by a nun in first grade. But I went to this hospital. I heard there was in a cast. Couldn't hear out of this ear, couldn't see out of this eye, couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. And I was there for about less than a week when Dr. Black and Sergeant Blake kicked the door in and took me over to St. Patrick's, the big cathedral in New York City on Fifth Avenue, right across the street from Rockefeller Center. And they talk about all these catacombs underneath the Vatican. Man, there's a ton of them under St. Patrick's. And go all over the place. They have more underground caverns under St. Patrick's than in Gaza. Yeah, more than Hamas, And then 3 months, I was semi-ambulatory. And they took the cast off my head and they gave me a helmet. I had to hold my head together. Wearing heels. And it clamped on. So they just put it there, clamped it on, and held it in place. And, it had holes for my eyes and for my nose and my mouth, my ears. And Dr. Black had a little medical bay there at St. Pat's in Cardinal Cushing's apartment. And he had it was like an apartment house back there. All the dignitaries from different bishops would come and cook his rent. And he had a little TV studio. He would go on YouTube and look up Cardinal Cushing, Catholic Cardinal. Right? Now, who was the first TV guy talking about Jesus? Catholic. And cardinals are kind of like Supreme Court judges. They can wear anything they want. So he used to wear this black kind of satin tea gown. And he had a red silk cape, red silk beanie, and red silk dancing shoes. And he would skip around. And he envisioned me being a rocket scientist for the Catholic Church. And he was big into H.G. Wells, and he got me into H.G. Wells. And they had an amazing library. And so I would have one eye covered, and I could read out of this eye. Right? And so that was, I got beat up before Christmas, like fall. And I was in there until, I don't know, March, in St. Pat's. And he shipped me off to the Maryknoll Sanctuary in Garden City, Long Island. You could and those people were great. About 60 of them. 30 guys, 30 girls. They all lived together. Not together, but in one facility, essentially. And they were all scholars, right? And they were like all PhDs and brilliant folks and everything you could think of. And there was an audiologist who worked on getting me to get this ear to work. A speech therapist to get me to be able to talk because I couldn't talk for about a year. And then when I could kind of talk, I would stutter. Couldn't see out of this eye. So there was not just an optician, optical scientist. And so they all saw me as, the $6 million man. We can fix him. We can make him better. And I did. I was there for a little less than 2 years. Right? And in that time, I learned how to read, learned how to speed read. Couldn't write that well because this eye and this eye didn't quite work together. So when I would write, I'd be all over the place. Well, I could type. They taught me how to type. So, when they give me an IQ test, my IQ was like 180. No, north of 180. Like everyone was rooting for me to be a Catholic priest, Maryknoll, rocket scientist for the Pope. That was nice. Yeah. But okay, how about this age? But they kept giving me stuff, putting me in situations. Like, Univac, which is now Raytheon. They were the big IBM, which business computer, international business machines. They're the people who invented the punch card. In actuality, they're not the ones who invented the punch card. IBM created a system to keep abreast of everyone, right? Kind of like what China has now. But they started it off with the Nuremberg laws. Go look up that up. Go Google Nuremberg laws, right? And everything you're saying is happening right now. Was put together then. And everything that was put together then was started back in 1812 in the United States. Like when the Nuremberg laws were created, they were created based on Jim Crow. And, You know, the Second Amendment isn't about you having a gun. It's about having a well-ordered militia. And that militia was owned by rich people, you know, like the Pinkertons, right? And they were actually there to keep the rabble in line, meaning in the United States, we didn't have a police force, you know, municipal police force until the 1890s. It was like in New York City, we had Tammany Hall. And they weren't really elected. Well, Donnie Trump goes on and on about how the election was fixed. Well, every election's fixed. Right? You guys don't realize that there is no Democrats. You know, it's like there's a good book called None Dare Called Conspiracy by Gary Allen. He basically was at the CFR. He was there when I was there, when Dr. Quigley was there. And Dr. Quigley wrote a great book called Hope and Tragedy. And that has been the human complaint since day one. Hope and tragedy. And that's what you got going on here. Hope and tragedy. And what you're seeing in Yugoslavia, Ukraine, you know, Syria, Darfur, Senegal, the Strip. It's never not been going on. Well, everything you see on this tube is basically propaganda. I mean, everything. No matter who you're looking at. So, you know, Donald Trump's daddy was the biggest racist there is. You know? He was part of the German-American Bund. And don't believe a word I say. Go check it out. Go check out Donnie's dad. See how ruthless he was, right? And he basically murdered his own son, his eldest son. And was supposed to take up the empire. And he didn't want to. He wanted to be a commercial pilot. So he went off and did that. And his father forced him to have basically a nervous breakdown. So he couldn't be that. And I think he killed himself. And Donald Trump is exactly like his daddy, but not quite as handsome and a lot fatter. And Donald Trump's daddy basically really did a job on his wife, Donnie's mom. And the oldest loved his mother, was, you know, compassionate, kind, sweet, all the above. Donnie picked up where his dad was, and just there's been a lot written around Donald Trump about his family and everything. So check it out. Go on Google. So I gotta realize, you know, every politician, whoever gets elected holds office, from the dog catcher to the president, is a sociopath. All they care about is themselves. So there's very little difference between Obama and Donald Trump. Obama was elected then and there so they could get Donald Trump elected. And they put Biden as his vice president just to like be his shepherd. Keep it on. I mean, look what you're doing. Does it make any sense? You know, when Hamas attacked Israel, right? And the New York Times had that article a few weeks ago that said that the IDF and Bibi knew a year ago that they had a copy of what the script of what they were going to do. They knew exactly what they were going to do, when they were going to do it, where they were going to do it, and they do. They let it go down. And then, see, Hamas's whole thing was to go in there, grab a bunch of people, and run back and hide the people, and then make deals, right? Because they wanted some visibility. I mean, Israel was making all these Abrahamic relationships, and very soon all of the other Arab nations would be, buddies with Israel, making money. Not caring about the people. They really didn't care about the people. The strip is 25 miles long by 6 miles wide, with 2.7 million people in it. The world's largest, open air jail, right? They've been under lockdown for the last, since 06 or something like that. So, they can't go in and out. They are very limited on what they get in there as food, water, and supplies. And yet they made a life for themselves, right? And now Israel has gone in and basically killed the people and hasn't touched Hamas, really. And so they're just going to take years, well, they're never going to get Hamas, right? But what they are going to do is totally decimate whatever positive feelings the world has towards this. Israel is going to be the biggest scapegoat there ever was. Now, if you don't realize that this has been basically scripted to happen, right? I mean, how does Bibi get elected all this time, right? When basically the Jewish population of Israel is relatively liberal, right? Not psychopathic, insane clown party. That insane clown party is like all over the place. Like it's in England, it's in America, it's all through South and Central America, and it was bred by Hail Hydra. You have to realize the United States is in control. It's being used. It's a product. It's driving everyone nuts, right? Now I'm allowed to put this stuff up here because not many people watch it. And that's okay. Because I put this out as a shamanic pebble in the corner. So the guys, now this guy here, he is a scholastic. Okay, we'll go with Democracy Now! First.
democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Another 187 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza over the past 24 hours as Israel continues to attack refugee camps and other areas across the Gaza Strip. Gaza health officials say the Israeli assault has killed more than 21,500 Palestinians over the past 12 weeks.
God knows how many people
in central Gaza, Israeli attacks killed at least 35 Palestinians in the Nusayrat and Maghazi refugee camps. At least 20 more Palestinians died when Israel attacked a residential building near the Kuwaiti hospital in the southern Gaza city of Rafah, which is overflowing with displaced Palestinians. One 13-year-old Palestinian girl named Nadine Abdelatif said Israel bombed the shelter where she and her family were staying after their home in Gaza City was blown up and one of her brothers killed.
Where am I supposed to go? Children were killed here. 26 people were killed here. I'm terrified. I'm scared, and the thought of me being killed or my other brother being killed just crosses my mind repeatedly. I already lost my older brother. I can't lose my younger brother. I have no one left. No one to look up to. You can clearly see that the houses are sticked together. So when they target one house, they're targeting a whole block by this point. And it's unfair. Why can't we live normally? Why can't we live a normal life? I mean, we're children and we're people. Children were killed here. Imagine, children, babies.
In more news from Gaza, Israeli military officials have admitted it carried out a deadly strike on the Maghazi refugee camp on Christmas Eve that killed at least 70 Palestinians. The IDF says it, quote, regrets the harm caused to civilians and claimed Israeli troops had used the wrong type of bomb. An Israeli official said, quote, the type of munition did not match the nature of the attack, causing extensive collateral damage, which could have been avoided.
Yes, could have been avoided, but it's just going to get worse, right? And at some point, they're going to nuke the place because they're not going to get rid of Hamas. Seeing what Hamas has been doing, I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Israel sent in their best of their best, right, into North Gaza, right, Gaza City, and the Hamas led them on a little merry chase into a trap, right? And so they went after those people, and they didn't kill them. They, basically wounded them, like blew up their legs, put bullets in their stomach and their colon. Very, very meticulous, right? And then so that brigade sent in another 60 guys to get them out, and they got shot up and stuck there, right? So the rest of the brigade, including one of the top colonels, 3 majors, and 5 captains, went in there with everybody else because now they know what they're doing. They had the leadership there, and those were the 9 that they killed. Thank you, darling. And so that was the 9 they killed, but they wounded about 260, and then they left. And so the Israelis came in and brought them down. So Israel now has close to somewhere because Israel is very close to the West, but my sources say between 5,000 and 15,000 Israeli soldiers have been wounded, like life-changing wounds, blinded, blown up arms, hands, legs, blown out colons, and these guys are specifically targeting them, not to kill them, but to damage them severely, so it'll cost a lot of money. Now, Israel is a small country, 6 million people. In America, we sent something like 6 million soldiers into Afghanistan and into Iraq over 20 years, and about quarter to 500,000 guys came back wounded and seriously mentally. The 2 million we sent were all mentally damaged, PTSD, and the VA doesn't do anything for them, right? And right now in America, every 30 seconds, a veteran commits suicide. Okay? So Israel's going to have that. So once that reality really, because that will touch every citizen in Israel. Every citizen will have a nephew, a son, a father, a cousin, somebody who's going to be like in a wheelchair or blind or not the handsome, good-looking young guy he was before he went into Bibi's meat grinder. And Bibi said this is going to go on for months, Well, there are a lot of Palestinians, and you can't kill enough of them. So he's got them all squished down in the south in Rafah. And at some point, what is going to happen is he's trying to pick a fight with Hezbollah, right, up there up there in the north, in Lebanon. And what's going to happen is, I think they're going to, because what's going on is, in the area where there shouldn't be Jewish settlers, there are, and they're they've killed about 1,500 people. Those settlers and the army have killed up there in that neck of the woods of North Palestine. And there's a whole bunch, like I said, Hezbollah is up there in Lebanon. And so the guy who's in charge of Hezbollah said, listen, we're not getting involved. But if you touch us, we're going to unload on you. So Israel's been lobbing, things at Hezbollah, right? And it's like they're doing what they did in the Strip. They're killing, innocent folk, where Hezbollah is not really getting touched. But Hezbollah is responding with very accurate ammunitions and taking out fortifications and killing soldiers, right? So they'd have to move 250,000 people out of North Israel because they don't want a repeat, right? And Hezbollah has about 70,000 really sharpened point soldiers. They've been fighting in Syria, they've been fighting here, fighting there, so they are well trained and well armed, well equipped, great strategy. So what's going to happen is they're a big threat, and already the insane clown party of Israel is basically saying, the clock is ticking. You guys have to stop doing this, or we're going to respond. Well, it's an existential threat. Blah blah blah. So they're going to nuke Lebanon, right? And they're going to kill maybe 1 million innocent civilians, but they won't touch Hezbollah whatsoever. And Hezbollah has all of their missiles, which are very accurate. They got a lot of them, like 100,000 of them. They're going to let them all go at once, which will so overwhelm their Iron Dome. As long as they're shooting like 15 at Israel, and not a problem, we can knock that down. But you start shooting 1,000 every day, and then 5,000 the next 3 days, and then 15,000. Iron Dome will be out of bullets, and then they will deliver their really heavy-duty, well-accurate missiles, and they'll take out Tel Aviv. And then Israel will nuke Rafah. So they'll kill 2 million people, and up there in Beirut, they'll kill 1 million people. And that's when the Israelis are going, and Israel will have lost Tel Aviv, and maybe 100,000 will have died, right? And so, the Jewish population, the average common sense person who was in the street this summer going on, don't get rid of our Supreme Court, what are they going to do? They're already kind of upset, and every time anyone goes out there in Israel, they get arrested and not seen again. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to leave Israel. They're going to depopulate Israel to the point where Bibi's going to be there all by himself. And that will probably happen by this time next year. And because Bibi will have, and we just sent another $125 million worth of shells to Bibi. I mean, 3 weeks ago, we sent him $275 million, right? So, and what is Biden doing? Oh, stop! You got to slow down. No, he's just saying that, trying to watch it. If he really wanted to stop, he'd just say, okay, that's it. No more. We're not. The UN can put anything they want, and we're not going to stop it, right? We're not sending you any more weapons, any more ammunition, and we're going to unplug you from our satellite information, right? They could do that, and that would be it for the IDF. We won't, give you top hat. We won't give you refueling. We won't give you any of the above. Right? Now, if Biden did that, he'd become president. If he doesn't do that, he's not becoming president. We're getting Donald Trump, and I think that's one reason why we're having this, because the powers that be want Donald Trump, because he is going to basically be. I mean, it doesn't matter whether we have Donald Trump or JoJo. They're both fascists. They both are doing the same thing. And what we're going to do, and we're already doing it. That little meeting they had in Mexico, they're going to build a camp all along the southern border, one big Gaza Strip. But instead of being 25 miles by 5 miles, this sucker's going to be 800 miles by 10 miles. They're going to build factories there, and all those people come in. They'll get a job. They get a little, FEMA trailer to live in. They'll get a bag of bean, rice, and some oil, and they will work on building cars and TV sets, and they'll be cheaper labor than China ever was. And they will be better workers. The most, one group of workers that are the most productive are the Mexicans. In that little that little strip that NAFTA made for factories for car parts that could go back and forth without having to worry about it. Well, we're going to have that across the whole strip. Right? And if those people are good for about 2 or 3 years, they'll get a green card to come in America and mow your lawn and work in restaurants, right? And basically, they want to round up all the illegal aliens. So that's between 6 million and 20 million illegal aliens. So that means you're going to have martial law. So we're going to have martial law as soon as we have the election, and we're going to probably have martial law before that, right? And I would say, and it doesn't matter because Obama was a worse fascist than George W. Right? So when he had the surge, Anyway, so what I see is, JoJo was on some stage someplace and he tripped over a sandbag and he nearly took a header off the stage, right? And somebody grabbed him and he just twisted his ankle. But next time that sandbag's there, no one's going to be there to grab him. And he's, wee! JoJo's dead. Long live Camelot, right? And they'll go, forget that shit. And so they'll find some real bad dirt about her because no one's in politics that can't be blackmailed. And Donald has done so much bad stuff so he right off the bat, said, "Hey, I'm not going to be, I'm not, cleaner than clean. I'm just this guy, and I'm going to be Mr. MAGA, make America great again, right?" And so it gives all those white people who are like not even doing anything, forget about them even being productive. They just sit at home and get fat. So talking about that, let's give our boy another try. See if he answers. Boop, 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 boop.
Please leave your message for 5.
Yeah, he's chicken. Let's see. I'll read you what he sent me a text. Boo-ba-doo-boo-boo. I guess he emailed me the text. So I just laid down a whole bunch of stuff, guys. Nobody has a single comment about anything I said. Really? Come on. Let's see what Johnny Boy emailed me. Yeah, here we go. I wrote this to my wife, and I love them too much, not worth living without them. I don't want to be alive. Well, if they're the most important thing to you, John, how come you're not in Texas with them over the holidays? Right? So this is the letter he wrote to his wife. I know I'm going to die 100%. Well, so do I. We all know we're going to die. Sometimes soon, relatively. He wants to do it soon. No, it's not his life to have to die. You're here to serve God, right? And by that right there is the biggest. That one line there is the biggest mortal sin you could ever say, right? Because you're spitting in the face of God when you say that. I have no plans of killing myself, and if I have, it will get an assisted suicide in California. I mean, he doesn't have the balls to do it himself. Meaning, when I was in Ithaca, and I was a volunteer fire department, the only thing we did, well, not only, but the majority of the things, 98% of the things we did two things. We responded where our house was. There was 91 and some other interstate that didn't have a clover leaf. They just had two roads doing this, two interstates, 2 8-lane highways doing this, right? The big trucks going this way would run over little cars going this way. And so we would respond at least 2 or 3 times a week to like something you'd see in Gaza, like more than once we showed up where the basic steering column, the airbag malfunctioned and blew the guy's face off. And then the steering column went through their chest, missed their heart, but went right through them, and and they're still alive. And we show up, and the place is a mess, and we contain the scene, and we start looking for bodies, and we find this guy, like an olive with a straw in him, right, and still alive. What do you do? Right? So what did we do? We were really good. We would take, we had this really, really, really sharp pair of jaws of life that were like a scissor. And we would just snap that off, but leave the column inside them. We had this kind of bag we could zip you up in and fill it with air. It had a cushioning that would hold you together, right, and stop the bleeding. And we put them on this kind of cushiony air gurney, and we get them in the bus, and we take them to. And Cornell had an amazing, critical center, and we could get them in no matter how, as long as they were alive, no matter how messed up they were, we could get them there. And Cornell had 89% chance of keeping them alive and getting them back to a life, kind of. But when you are that messed up, do you really want to live? And so my job was to deal with those people, meaning I was what is known as surgical EMT. So I could do airways, I could do lines, I could hook people. And we had some really good technology where we could hook people up and email all of their body functions to the emergency room. And we had a camera that I could take down and shine in spots to show them exactly what it was, and they could click, get a screen save, and give me advice on what to do in the period of getting them ready to go there and get operated on. And I would be with them, and so they were conscious. I would be talking to them, right? And the thing was, if they were screaming in pain, well, then you knew they were going to be alive. But if they didn't feel anything, if they didn't smell anything, if they could not really see, but could smell, they could still smell, but they could hear and smell you, but everything else was gone, well, you knew they were going. And so God knows everything about what's going down. And see, the other thing, so I go to 3 churches, so I went to them today. And I'm done with trying to, teach the church anything. I should have known better after the Catholic Church, but I'm fine with talking to individual people. So I go there, and now all I do is sit in this chair in the back, way back in the corner. People have to turn their heads and look at me, right? If they want to look at me, I'm not there. They do. When they walk in, they come over and greet me. And I just sit there and pray. I don't say anything. I just pray. And they can feel it. Right? So that's what we need to do. Not like John, I'm going to kill myself, but he doesn't have the balls to even do it himself. And they're not going to, in California, the assisted suicide is not for guys like John. It's for people who have, killer cancer that they're just not dying, and yet it's unbelievable painful, and they're not going to get better. It's been 14 years of suffering, the worst life I ever would have thought it would be. Give me a break. You lived up there to school where it's beautiful. You fixed it up like it was your little playground. Your parents paid all of your bills. You could have girlfriends. You could do anything you want. You could have done anything you wanted. But all you could do was, be full of self-loathing. It's not worth living anymore without you and the kids. Well, then go to where the kids are. Go to Texas and be with them. Right? Let's see. I got thought right now of some trillionaire guy who was really old, and you had no idea who he was. And you said, I'd suck it about his penis, right? So, you're talking to your ex, about something like that? You got to be kidding me. I have been so kind and good. Oh, yeah. So he threw him out, So I sold him the place in 2015, right? And I was there from 2015, September 2015. He threw me out before the elections, right? And I had no place to go. And I was staying in the Texas Tavern downtown Roanoke, hot dog stand that stays open 24/7. And this guy, Tim, whatever, the usual suspect, he was this guy, scam artist, who pretended to be a minister and had a nonprofit where he would get kids from colleges to come sleep on like the floor of the Salvation Army on the basketball stand, and then stack cans in the closet, and that was supposed to be a social, so they could click off in a box that they had social conscience, right? Anyway, so he did that for 4 or 5 years, and he got $300 a kid, right? And he gave them a T-shirt, and it's called Reach, I think. And he did that for a number of years, and he made, and everything he had a ministry, so he had not quite a church, but a ministry. He had a nonprofit 501c3, so he paid no taxes. He probably took home about 75 grand. Hey, buddy, you're looking good. You're ready for 2024.
Yeah, I'm ready.
He's ready. Yeah, he's ready. He's good looking. There's his buddy. Anyway, so he said, "What are you doing?" And so, by this time I had been in Roanoke for about 15 years. I'd been involved in every social activity, organization, this, that, as part of help not put together, but build a strategy for Occupy, right? Went to the police, got everyone on the same page so we could go do it. And we could have changed Roanoke. But everyone inside of that group, the inner circle, they were the usual suspects. So I didn't do anything, right? And the best, I got this one guy who had a wholesale business, right? And his other part of his business, he would buy stuff from airlines that had big warehouses of lost luggage that no one ever was going to. He would just buy it by the ton and go through it and get clothes and sell it in his thrift outlets. Anyway, so he would give me tons of coats and hats and scarves and gloves, right? And so the one thing that we did do for a year, and I got the guy, I don't know, more than I could count, activities like, neighborhood parties and job fairs and environmental things and all kinds of stuff, right? And when you do something like that in a park or something like that, you block off the street, you're going to need some porta-johns. So I had a relationship with this guy in Porta-John. He was really a righteous guy. He liked what we were doing. So when I said, hey, we're going to do Occupy down there in the park in downtown, we need a couple of porta-johns. I said, no problem. And so he dumped them off there for a year. Plus, he dumped off 2 showers, solar powered. I got him into solar power, solar hot water heaters, so the homeless guys and gals could take a shower. Because Roanoke had every place you could sit down on a ledge, or they took all the park benches out of downtown, and all the places that had ledges, they put spikes on. They wouldn't let the homeless go into libraries anymore or any place. They wanted them to freeze to death. And the mission, which would let them sleep there, they had to leave at 7 in the morning, couldn't come back until 6 at night. So from 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and it gets pretty cold in Roanoke in some of those winters, like, 60 below zero, snowing, and you can't go anywhere, right? So I got the YMCA to let them come in there and shower, stay in it. Right. So anyway, so I had, and I was really connected to pretty much every church and every politician, and I got them to look good, right? And got them to do good stuff. That's how they got to look good, because I made them do stuff. But when I worked at the Mission owned a ton in Northwest buildings, really nice buildings from the 19th century, but they were letting them fall apart. And this guy, Tim, would get one of those buildings, fix it up, and sell it for, market price, right? 200,000 or so. And he'd sell it to these people who were coming to work in the new, say, Roanoke used to be the center of technology and the railroads. And it was one of those places where they built big, gigantic steam engines. And they had Roanoke Electric Steel, and GE made tritium for hydrogen bombs there, which made Roanoke a prime. Anyway, so I was involved in all that kind of stuff, and the pipelines that were coming through there, the Mountain Valley pipelines. And the problem is that everyone who called themselves environmentalists didn't care about the environment, didn't care about people. All they wanted to do was look good on TV, right? And so, nobody wanted to deal with stress. So when they were, putting that pipeline, I saw where it was very obvious that was a natural gas pipeline. There were about 4 other ones. Why do they need another one? Because they're putting it right next to the power lines where they're going to dump gigantic gas turbines for, tripling the. That part of Virginia has a third of all of the major power lines for the Northeast, right, from Canada all the way down to the East Coast, almost down to Florida. And they're going to put about 100 gas turbines, 1 kVA, enough for 100,000 houses. You put 100 of those, that's getting to be some electricity, and that means you can start to use electricity for your electric cars. And electric cars will never work. I mean, the first automobile ever built was an electric car. Before the internal combustion engine, before the Stanley Steamer. Back in the 1870s, had an electric car, it had batteries, had electric motors, it had DC, and it worked great. But the batteries didn't hold the charge longer than driving around 10 miles. That's it. So they were great for delivery inside of New York City and Philly and DC, especially big, heavy stuff, right? But other than that, no. Right? And worked really good for forklifts in warehouses. But other than that, not really. So they moved on, right, to steam. And then from steam, Stanley Steamer made a great car. They were in business. They had millions of Stanley Steamers on the road up until the 20s when GM and Ford and Firestone bought them out and just got rid of it. Very efficient, very great. What else? So we're going to have electric cars, and they're going to, and so they do this most stupidest thing. So only Tesla. Why? Someone was asked Elon Musk, right? Name it Tesla. Who's Tesla? He didn't even know. Right? His buddies, who he stole the car company from, were all Tesla heads, and so they had induction motors on each wheel. An induction motor is great. There's no gearing. You can go from 0 to 60 like that, and there's no loss of torque. So Tesla envisioned induction. Right? Did you ever have an induction teapot? Meaning you don't plug it in a teapot, you put it on this little stand, and the current heats the water, right? That's induction, right? So induction stoves, same thing, right? So all you have to do is, next time you pave the road, you put down a copper strip in the lane, and then you pave over it, and then you run current through it, and the car picks that current up, and then your car can run full. And, like I said, every time roads get paved all the time, especially interstates. Just went and did that. And especially, you add a lane for trucks, and you just put that little copper strip all the way from Maine to California, and you don't even, and that's when you have a lane just for trucks. That you can have autonomous. You don't need guys in it. The sucker will just run back and forth, be fine, right? So, and this technology is from the 1870s.
You have a good day. Happy New Year.
You too.
Can you throw some coffee in this cup? My to-go cup? Okay. No, I'm in no hurry. So, Lisa, what do you got for dessert? What won't kill me? What do you got for dessert that won't kill me?
No.
Okay.
Everything's sugar,
Yeah. So what ones do you got that I
Brown
can?
sugar cake and ice cream.
No, that's What else?
I ran out of chocolate cream pie.
Oh, okay. So that's good. I don't even have to think about it.
No, let 'em get you.
Just say no. How was your Christmas, Lisa?
Good.
That a girl. How you?
Did you have a good Christmas?
I always have a good Christmas.
I love it.
My Christmas is 365.
I love it.
And my
favorite holiday.
my parents were Italian and German, so Christmas was more about preparation than the day itself. I mean, the day we went to church, it was all about going to church. But getting ready and then after, that's what we did best. Thank you, darling. Arr. So, where are we at? So anyway, that's where we're going. And all of this is going to be like that, like these things, right? This is a miniaturized version of the Keyhole spy satellite, which was put up in space in 1961, like the first one. So this spy satellite is spying on us. That's what it does. All those great little things, those apps and all that, and that 500 pages thing that you never read that you agree upon, means that they're going to scrape and copy and sell every bit of who you are to the highest bidder. Huh? And they're not, because of that rule they put on that they're just a platform. They don't really have to control what's going on there. That's why, Facebook makes something to the order of $19 billion advertising to kids between the age of 3 and 17. Really? Not Facebook, but things like YouTube and Twitter and those all of those things. Not so much Facebook. Facebook's for old people. So, I'm talking about old people. Let's listen to this guy a little bit.
To come and take the water of life, which is eternal life, as we've already learned. The first incentive is because of who Christ is.
Nurse, they became best friends, took her to church, answered her questions, and then Leslie came up to me one day and gave me the worst news an atheist husband could get. She said, "I've decided to become a follower of Jesus." And I thought,
Jesus provides a daily reading for every single day of the new year.
well, punches God.
I listen to a lot of Bible radio.
And target ads at younger voters. Young voters tend to favor abortion rights, but recent polling shows that the issue can
895.
The first reason to accept the invitation to come and take the water of life, which is eternal life, as we've already learned. The first
And the nurse, they became best friends.
But the adoration goes on. The great, the mighty God, the Lord of hosts is his name. Great in counsel and mighty in work.
For that eyes are open upon all the way.
story the small children are reading the mission in front of them. His message was, "Is that why you hate my black skin? Do I remind you what you lost? Do you hate or do you love? Do you despise or do you yearn? Do you return, do you return, do you return?"
So here's a good little experiment for you. Go get 2-gallon jugs of water, right, from the supermarket, and they're sealed, right? Go get 2 and bring them home And on one, write hate, right? Anger, fear, disappointment. On the other, write love, forgiveness, joy, generosity, right? And then put them up on a counter someplace, not quite in the sun, just there where you, like in your living room or in your kitchen, where you sit down and have breakfast, and look at the one that says hate and put all of your hate, evacuate, eliminate, meaning take all the hate from you and put it in that jug of water, right? All the anger you have, put it in that water. All that disappointment, you put it in that jug of water. And the other one that says love, generosity, forgiveness, you put all of that love of God, all that forgiveness and peace inside of you, right? So you evacuate all the hate, fear, anger, disappointment, and imbibe all of the love, joy, and energy, right? And then you put that love and joy and forgiveness back in the jug, right? And you will see in a matter of days that jug that you're putting all your hate, disappointment, and anger into will turn black. And the one that has the love, joy, and forgiveness is going to be like glistening. Give that a try. Now, if that don't, you don't have to go on. The only reason those guys go on the radio about Jesus and all that is to get you to send money. This thing, this will change your life, You will stop being Johnny Boy, Johnny Toilet. Oops, not that. Or this other guy, if I can find him.
West Virginia has failed. They decided under ivory powers and their security details far away from the crime.
The law was to go into effect in January of 2023. However, the legal battle delayed the...
We hope it's not continued travelers.
State Anthony Blinken says
for Christmas, it probably will. Against former President Donald Trump. A legal win for Trump's attorneys and a setback for special counsel Jack Smith.
The United Nations says more than 7 million people have now been uprooted from their homes by the conflict in Sudan. The latest mass upheaval came after fighting spread to the state of Jazeera, where hundreds of thousands had taken refuge. Kalkidani Beltan has more details in this report.
Vulnerable people who have been already impacted by this conflict and who have been left without homes are now finding themselves on the move again. Many are scattered out of the city and they are fleeing the violence on foot without much on their backs. In the past few days, reports of summary executions, sexual violence, and looting of properties have been reported. Health facilities, including hospitals, have been attacked.
Kalkidani Beltal, this is the latest world news from the BBC. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has filed for bankruptcy protection. It comes days after a jury ordered him to pay more than $148 million.
So the thing about Sudan, so Sudan is a country in Africa, and it's right on the edge of the Mideast and right on the other side of Africa. It has gold, iridium, all those earth metals, oil, gas, and it has what's most important, the world's largest supply of underground fresh water. And all the major rivers start there, right? And it's right off, it's transportation hub of Africa, right? Everything you could ever want, and that's why. So there had been a despot who ran that place for 30 years, that the United States and the transnational oligarch, Hail Hydra, put in there, right, to control that thing. And the people got fed up, and it's quite a large, it's the third largest populated spot in Africa. And so the people said, screw this, we don't get anything. That guy's living like a god, and all the resources go to Europe and America. No. So they didn't start a war. They just said, forget about it. We're not working. We're not doing anything. And they didn't rabble in the streets. And the country just stopped. And so, the Hail Hydra guys had to do something. So they got rid of the oligarch, right? And they put in a petty little, collective of people who were going to make a constitution and get it democratic, right? And so the thing had been put along for about a year. And just as Ukraine started, a good chunk of the German guys owned by the Burger King guy who died in an airplane crash. I'm sure he didn't really die. And so basically, they were there stealing the gold, right? And so they gave the generals, the military was there, Greece, and there was military, and then they had the rapid deployment force, right? Because they had a few Islamist guys out there farting around. And so those guys would go after those guys. They were like, the National Guard. Anyway, so the Russians went, and this is when Ukraine started going. It was like, it was in the second year, going into the second year. And Ukraine had, the first year, amazed everyone that they weren't taken over and that they pushed, Russia back to where now Russia only has 17% of Ukraine. Right? When they first went in there, they pretty much had everything until they got pushed out. So basically, the Russians told the two armies, listen, this is what you do. The big army goes after that rapid deployment force, right? And so those guys go into some state and start trying to take it over. And then the army comes in with airplanes and bombs everyone. And a couple hours before the airplanes show up and bomb everyone, that rapid defense force are told, hey, get out of town. So they get out of town, and then the Air Force comes and kills everyone. So they've already killed 1-point-something million people and have 7 million people, and this only started in May. So, this is a bigger genocide, but these people are blacker than black, not just tan, not just sand, sand N-words. So this is what's wrapping up for 2024. And everyone's just getting used to it. So more insane stuff that goes on. And all of the YouTube channels have their own little, the bald guy in England, he goes on about a lot of interesting things. And if you step way, way back and look at all those things he's talking about, they represent stuff that's going on around the world. Because he is so about the little neighborhood and the this and what's going on in England and blah, 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 which is all fine and good. If he were to just expand it into, now, guys like me watch him and other guys like me talk to him, say, hey, you're doing a great job and aren't you brave, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sure he's being paid. I mean, he's being monetized big time, right? He's got an ascot on. He's got a nice house and he gets to travel around, just like my buddy who's the economist. He's like all around the world, He had been, he put his time in a good 10 years where he was a scholarly economist and wrote things and gave PowerPoints to important people. And then they said, well, you're in your late 40s, you look really good. Why don't you let your hair grow? And why don't you go, you like to hike? We'll just send you all over the place to go hiking in pretty places. And you can give, our little diatribes to the world. And it'll all be good. So, which is, see, none of this stuff, again, hate and love, good and bad. Why'd we get kicked out? Don't eat from that tree of the knowledge of good and bad. Okay, but they do, and God knew we were going to do it. We were designed to do it. That's why we had to go through this whole little passion play to get to the other side. And nothing, there ain't no end times coming anytime soon, kids. And this ain't worse. I mean, I've seen it way. I'm only in my mid 70s. The 70s to 60s were way worse because we had none of this to watch it going on. And so, go watch Roddenberry. He was a guy. He was, what his job before he got, being a script writer in Hollywood, U.S. Navy intelligence. The guy who ratted on Nixon. One of those two guys, was one of those guys. He came straight from naval intelligence and worked at the Washington Post, right? How did he get that job? Right? Didn't go to school to be a journalist or anything. How did he go from naval intelligence to that? I don't know. Do you? Anyway, so there's one thumbs up. Come on, let's have some more thumbs up. Let's see if I can find this chucklehead.
Including 350 children. It destroyed approximately 6,300
This guy's a
homes,
Jewish and economist.
and it decimated the infrastructure of Gaza. And then in 2014,
This is
the most savage of the
alternative
massacres
radio.
in Gaza, it was called
Dave,
Operation
from Buddy
Protected
Dave.
Edge. At the time, the head of state was Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's Norman Finkelstein, and this is Alternative Radio. I'm David Barsamyan. This edition of AR features Norman Finkelstein, a brief history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The world's eyes are on Gaza now. It is ruled by Hamas. Hamas is an acronym in Arabic for Islamic Resistance Movement. A bit of
and target ads at younger voters. Young voters tend to favor abortion rights, but recent polling shows that the issue can still motivate.
I've discovered that actually Israel is not just oppressing the Palestinians. Israel is oppressing every one of them. Israel is oppressing humanity. Israel is dragging the entire world into this immoral orbit of wars and oppression and suppression of an entire people. And in the process, the world is losing its own international system, i.e. the United Nations, the Security Council, all the rules we created after the Second World War. What is the international order? What is the essence of the international order? It is that war should not be the first option. That's number one rule. That's why we have Security Council to prevent wars. Number two, should wars be an option? There are rules for these wars. The Geneva Conventions, one of which is don't target civilians, and you must protect civilians as an occupier. And number three, there is accountability should war crimes have been committed. The U.S. has completely destroyed, enabled Israel to destroy all these provisions and rules and premises of the international order. And Amy, if you allow me, and this is for the Biden administration to think about very seriously, to think about the impact that Israel has normalized the mass murder of children, the mass murder of families and civilians, the mass destruction of hospitals, schools, universities. Normalizing such scenes is going to have severe consequences on our humanity, on how the world will function. Not even about the U.S. role. I believe the U.S. has lost its role, not only in Israel-Palestine. The U.S. will not have standing in the South. The U.S. will not have standing in the East anymore. The U.S. has really made this all about Israel for reasons beyond our discussion. It's almost, for many people in the South and in the East, it feels it's a cultural war waged by the U.S. and Israel is that alliance unbreakable. Trumps anything. It trumps our laws. It trumps our humanity. It trumps our security. It trumps our children. It trumps everything. And therefore, it's a moment to pause.
Ambassador, I wanted to ask you about Britain, about the tens of thousands of people who have protested, about Prime Minister Rishi Sunak firing the hard-right Home Secretary Suella Braverman, coming a month after she called Palestinian solidarity marches, quote, hate marches. This is what Prime Minister Sunak said. We've seen now tens of thousands of people take to the streets following the massacre of Jewish Suella Braverman, the single largest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust, chanting for the erasure of Israel from the map. To my mind, there's only one way to describe those marches. They are hate marches. Hate marches, Suella Braverman said, and then she was out. The significance of this.
Very, very significant. The main message is that this country, the people of this country, the British people will not allow for such divisive politicians and rhetoric and discourse. And the people have really delivered their verdict. I have participated in all these demos, and most of them I spoke there, and I've seen firsthand. I've seen every color, every background. I've seen the Christians and the Muslims and the Jewish brothers and sisters who have been with us for a long time. I've seen a moment of unity of the British people delivering their message that ceasefire now, not in our name, that we have to end this once and for all. And by the way, this is the power of the people. I must admit, Amy, the position of the UK government is very concerning. So far until now, lagging behind. Yet the position of the people, the energy of the people is strong. Jesus
provides a daily reading for every single day of the new year. And this year there are 1,200
Gazans, including 350 children.
And target ads at younger voters.
5. The first reason to accept the invitation to come and take the water of life, which is
at the age of 68.
And a nurse, they became best friends, took her to church, answered her questions, and then. But the adoration goes on. The great, the mighty God, the Lord.
Story, the Shaw children are really ideal. The mission in front of them. His message. Is that why you hate my black skin? Or West Virginia, but it's the same wherever we go. Cash bail.
They had decided from their
We hope it's going to continue to travel. There's efforts to move the museums as well.
Minnie's artistic endeavors have branched into other mediums: painting, ceramics, quilting, and hand.
Anthony Blinken says he's worried about a top opponent to Russia's Vladimir Putin. He posted on X, we're deeply concerned about the whereabouts of Alexei Navalny.
For Christmas, it probably will to visit my sister. Against former President Donald Trump.
The United Nations has more than
that they're trying to appeal.
13-year-olds. And they're just trying to figure out the same stuff any middle schooler might.
With us are news. I'm Keith Peters reporting a divided Colorado Supreme Court on Tuesday declared former President Donald Trump ineligible for the White House under the U.S.
That is fueling his base. Here for more are NPR's Frank.
The first of which has been
joint BP pools.
He's acknowledged he doesn't know that much about the conflict.
That's what they all thought.
But he came into it because it was the issue of the day. So he doesn't really have a deep understanding of it. He has
the guy who's a UN.
October 7th, their own understanding of it.
So did you get all the things I sent you to show how of history, or the short history of man, or the short history of what's going on? But it's, history is the main word in the title. And it sold more than all the, in the first 50 years of the 20th century. That book sold more than any other book. And the one he wrote after it.
When I can talk, you let me know.
Okay. And the other book that you should look up is Things to Come. So you're at the computer. Are you looking at H.G. Wells?
No, I'm not. I'm looking at Israel cluster munitions.
Oh.
During last year's Hezbollah, they apparently used them on Hezbollah last year.
Well, they're using the shit out of them on the Gaza Strip.
Cluster munitions?
Yep.
Okay, well, you want to bet $10?
Yep.
All right, we'll call it a bet.
Yep.
So if you get any way to prove it, you let me know, and I'll.
No, you got the computer. I don't really have any way to prove it, but it's very. I mean,
well, how would you know it then?
Well, Scott Ritter talked about it.
Well, then send me Scott Ritter's link to Scott Ritter talking about it.
Okay. If I can find it, I will. But you have, again,
on the internet 6 hours.
I have all of 6 hours a week to go on the internet.
Okay, well, you might not be able to do it, but if you can, you will.
Right, exactly. If I stumble across it again, I will send it to you. But you have it right in your house, so I would say you could do it a little easier.
Well, I looked up your cluster bomb thing, and it says Israel used to cluster bombs during last year's war with Hezbollah. No charges against military officers ordered the use of the U.S.-made bombs.
Right, U.S.-made bombs.
Nothing about it on Gaza.
So Google, are they, cluster bombs on Gaza?
I think that's what I Googled. Israel's used to cluster bombs. Let's see what I did. Okay, not coming up with the address was. Hold on. Israel's use of cluster weapons. I didn't say Gaza. But anyway, when I can talk, let me know.
I'm not talking now.
Well, are you ready to listen a little bit?
I listen to everything.
No, you do not.
No, I do. That's why I respond.
You don't respond to the germane point that was made. You're always responding to something else that was not said.
But it does have a connection to it.
It does have a connection, but it's not on the money. You don't listen. I mean, I'm convinced of that. I'm sure of it.
And how can you measure that?
One of the ways I measure it is you'll send a link to something, and 2 minutes after another one, there'll be another link. You don't even look at them yourself.
Do you know why I do that?
Why you don't look at them?
No, I do look at them. I've looked at them already. I lined them up. And it just go bang, bang, bang.
Oh, okay. I don't. You're telling me you've actually looked at them?
Yeah.
How come I doubt that?
No. I mean, they're all germane to the. No, I watched every one. The ones I sent you today, I watched them all. But when I watch something, right, it goes up into this little box. That there it is, and I can look at all the things I looked at for the last forever. And so, I look at the first, so I line them up, right?
Then tell me when I send you something, why are you not responding to the germane points in it?
I write voluminous to you about what you send me.
What's that again?
I write voluminously about what
But it does not address
everything you sent me in the last week. I've made a real comment on every one of them.
Not on the germane aspects of the points made in the piece.
Yes, I did. You just don't like what I say. That's all.
No, I don't think you're addressing the points in the article. I cannot tell from what you've written that you read it.
Okay. Well, that's, your subjective point of view. Maybe you should, when you send me that shit, you should, you give a title. You should say, I want you to respond to this. And then I'll be more pointed to it. But what I do, and, I don't know if you haven't noticed it, I have a pretty large view of things. So you send me a video, I watch it, and I give the big picture, not any point, but a big picture of what you sent me.
Well,
if you want me to be right on that point, you tell me the point. Do you want me to comment?
How about if I give you the numbers where that point is?
No, you don't even have to say no. That won't work. What should work is in the comment thing. You say, you can do that, but you can say, hey, I'm sending you this video, and I want you to look at this. 10 seconds worth of it, or a minute and a half, or 5 minutes, or whatever it is, and I want to know what you think of X. So I can be as specific as you want me to be. Because otherwise, I give you a response that my whole view is. You know, I'm a big picture guy. So my responses to you are a larger thing that whatever point you think I should be looking at. So be more specific. Tell me the point to look at. Give me a question to answer. I'm very good at that.
What is the problem with giving you the numbers that's got it contained?
Because I'll go to that, and still I would look at whatever numbers you gave me, and I would give you a big picture answer of those numbers, right? Whereas if you say, go look at this, and this is the specific point I want you to comment on, then I'll be real specific. But if you just say, go look at this 2-minute piece or 20-second piece, the answer you're going to get from me is going to be a big picture answer. If you leave it up to me. So be more specific.
You're probably not even going to read it.
That's not true. I've read everything you sent me. I read all the stuff you sent me.
Well, if I send something that has the numbers that's got the germane point, isn't that quite sufficient?
Oh, okay, give it a try. I'll do it, and you will see that I will give you a big picture answer. You give me what do you know?
Well, yeah, you're not going to address the points.
Because unless you give me a specific thing to address, I'm going to be a big picture answer.
Well, I tell you what, Al, we spent the first 5 minutes of the conversation trying to stay zeroed on the question I had to ask, and I couldn't get there. So I know better.
Yeah, but John, John, Brent, you asked me how many senators would vote on this, right? And I said, I don't know. And then you said, you don't know anybody, what's their names? And I said, I don't know. And then I said, no, okay, here's the answer I can give you.
Can you name one who would vote against it is what I said to you.
Who would vote against it? And I would say...
Who would vote to cut up money off to Israel? Can you name one?
In the Senate, I can't name a single person. I would say...
And I don't think there is one. That's the point.
But, and I said this right off the bat, the Senate isn't the problem of getting Israel weapons to kill more Palestinians. The people who will stop it is the House. Because there are a bunch of, wild, crazy guys and gals there who don't care. They just want to go against anything Biden wants to do. If Biden said, I don't want to give them weapons, they would say, we need to give them weapons. And the people who's going to stop the United States from giving Israel weapons is...
I can see the difficulty with zeroing in on the point made.
No.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you still are not...
See, the guy wants me to always talk about his point, and we'll say whether he's right or wrong, and then he can argue that he's right. And me, I give all the peripheral things that you should be looking at to get the big picture, not just this little teeny square. And that is why we have wars all over the world. Guys like him, because he's a scholastic. He thinks he's important. He goes to conferences. He talks to congressmen and senators. He talked to Joe Biden once. Whoop-de-frigging do. And he doesn't have to worry about anything because his mommy and daddy and his grandpa and his great-grandpa basically stole land from the Indians and found oil on the property and were ever rich. And his daddy was a oil lawyer banker, and his grandpa was an oil lawyer banker. And they are, those guys with the golden underpants. And he kind of threw that off to the side. So he has no religion whatsoever. He doesn't believe in religion, right? It's all what's right in front of him. And he has no spiritual anything. But he always wants to talk to me and go on like that. And I find it amusing. So I keep doing what I do until he explodes and loses his mind. And then I giggle. Because I'm a cheeky monkey, That's what I do. Anyway, so here we've been doing this for 1 hour and 29 minutes. And we only got a couple people here. So I'm going to go. because it's still sunny and nice, and I got things to do at the deep green while it's still sunny and nice. And if you want to throw, I got my PayPal kind of fixed. So if you want to throw something in the old PayPal, that'd be nice. And that's the dudewake42 at Gmail, dudewake42 at Gmail. Let us try Homeboy one more time. Let's see if he answers the phone.
Please leave your message for...
Straight to voicemail. He's hiding under the bed. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Okay? I don't know when I'll talk again. Sometime this week. Who knows? It'd be nice if a few more people showed up to have a conversation. No one said anything. I'm the only guy who said anything. Love is all there is. Anyway. Okay?